Hello, BookTube. This is the 52 Nifty Bookish Questions tag, or Q's tag. It was created by Strip Cover Lit, and I was tagged by them, so I'll put the links down below. I'm going to try to do 52 questions, a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to fly through these. I haven't done a lot of prep, so this could be a total disaster. What book are you reading right now? I'm reading Finishing Up Terry Goodkind, Wizard's First Rule, reread. Ian M. Banks, Consider Phlebas, first time. Mary Oliver, Poetry Handbook. Volume 2 of the Journals of John Fowles, 1966-1990. Wonderful, wonderful book. I need to find Volume 1. And then The Art of Renaissance Florence, A City and Its Legacy by Scott Nethersole. So that's what I'm reading right now. I always have tons of stuff going. I probably have more stuff going than that. What was the last thing you highlighted? On a state report I do, I'll print it out, and if I have things I need to work on, I'll highlight that. What do you plan to read next? I'm probably going to focus on some Ursula K. Le Guin. I'd like to track down some Conan novels. I've been reading the new Conan comics from Marvel. I'd like to read some more nautical fiction and non-fiction for some of the projects I'm working on. Okay, one fiction writer, living or dead, with which I'd like to grab a drink. I would say I would like to grab a drink with C.S. Forester. One non-fiction writer, living or dead, with which I'd like to grab a drink. Alec Navalny, and he wrote that new history of science fiction, Astounding, which is well named because it's an incredible book if you haven't read it. One poet, living or dead, with which you'd like to grab a drink. Robert Frost. One booktuber with which I'd like to grab a drink. Well, there's many, a lot. It's endless number. I mean, I sort of do figuratively grab a drink every time I watch Todd the Librarian. So, but there's lots, and most of them know who they are. Emily Dickinson or Edgar Allan Poe, Hemingway or Fitzgerald, and Hemingway by far. Jane Austen or Charles Dickens. Harris or Hitchens, maybe Hitchens. Stephen King or Michael Crichton, Stephen King. Bret, Easton, Ellis or Chuck Palahniuk, or however you say his name, don't care about either one. Kurt Vonnegut or John Green, I've read Vonnegut, but I don't care about either one. Shakespeare's poems or plays, his plays. Adrian Ford or Dalton Gentry. Yeah, I couldn't really choose. Like them both. And that was lame. Sorry. Cormac, McCarthy or J.K. Rowling. I'm not big on either one of them either. J.K. Rowling. Hannibal Lecter or Voldemort. I'd be more scared of Hannibal Lecter. T.C. Boyle or George Saunders. Boyle. Good writing or a good story. YA or children lit. Man, not big on either one. Matters what your definition is. Irony or humor. I like both in their place, but probably irony. Sci-fi or horror. Sci-fi. Fantasy or non-fiction. I like both. But they're asking me which one. It probably depends on what time of day it was. I would go with non-fiction. Rather find a new favorite contemporary writer or a new favorite old-time great. I enjoy both, but a new favorite old-time great. The test of time and all that. Sonnet or haiku. Sonnet. Sestina or villanelle. Sestina. Spend the evening at a library or bookstore. I spent almost every day at a library. So, let's see. Magazine or Wikipedia article. Magazine. Dictionary or encyclopedia. I love both, but I can sit down and read a dictionary all day. The writer I would like to write my biography. James Patterson. I know it would get distribution. Do I do or I do not highlight in my books? I do not. I do not write in my books. I don't write in my books. When I was in school, I would with a very sharp pencil. But earliest memory of a library when I was very teeny in my little hometown of Bells Falls, Vermont, the Rockingham Memorial Library. Last time you went to the library, yesterday, because I worked there. Have you ever accidentally stolen books from the library? I've kept books out later than I should because I've forgotten about them, but somebody's always willing to give you a notice if that's the case. Ballpark, how many books do you own? It's got to be close to 3,000. How many books do you think would make a reasonable personal library? About 20,000. So there's Sense and Sensibilities and Sea Monsters, Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, etc. How do you feel about the phenomena? If it gets people to read, I'm all for it. Horror trope you would like to see get more love? None of them. Something that you think gets underutilized in sci-fi. I think the biggest problem with sci-fi is that the great stuff from the past just... I just found some recently old book club editions and stuff that should be in print, but it's not. I think one thing that's underutilized sci-fi is historical science fiction. 42, flash fiction. Form of and format of literature or just a short story dummy? Neither. It's not literature in my book. 43, if you could own one book from all of history, what would it be? The Necronomicon. No, it wouldn't. Number 44, audiobooks, the same as reading. No, it's listening. It's fine. I like listening to the stories, but it's not reading. 45, most literary songwriter of your lifetime. I probably have a different answer every day, but right now I'm thinking Gordon Lightfoot or Leonard Cohen. Yeah, Gordon Lightfoot. Okay, what writer embarrassed you the most because you haven't read them? I have not read The Tale of Genji. What writer embarrasses you because you've read too much from them? Well, I don't ever get embarrassed that I've read too much of somebody. What is a biography you are looking forward to reading? I have the new Churchill one. I'm really looking forward to reading that. I have a few others too. Do you have a dream reading cubby? I know this doesn't look like it, and it's hard for me to shift around and show you, but this is an L, and then there's rails right here in the stairway down to downstairs. So on the L, there's a window here, and then books, and then books all the way down there, and then books on each end. So at the top of the stairway is my reading cubby, and it's perfect. I love it. It's an old place, but it's comfortable. 50, last literary phenomena that really got your gears grinding. I don't really have one. What was the last piece of literature that changed the way you read? I think there's been some. I think that some of the stuff that's changing the way I read, or at least the way I look at books, there's been an awful lot of great scholarship in the last 10 years about the history of reading. I can't think of a specific title that I would choose out of the pack. Even something like Alberto Manguel, when you realize you're part of this community of reading that's gone on for so long and has had such a varied history, it's fun. So I would say maybe let's just choose Alberto Manguel. What booktuber have you been watching the most recently? I've got one in the queue here. I've got to watch Earnestly Easton. I just saw he put up something. Infinite Text. I watched some Steve Donahue last night. Strip Cover Lid, of course. A lot. So everybody's doing Sagalon. Bookish North. I just watched. Wonderful piece on Sagalon too. So for a tag, let's tag Bookish North and Earnestly Easton and Final Blow Joe, and yeah, let's do that if any of you are watching. Thank you, BookTube. This was a fun tag. Thank you, Strip Cover Lit, and like I say, I'll leave the links down below. Thank you, BookTube.